talk about it as well, if you like, as to what.
This is basically a hand-thrown bowl, and I sculpture the grapes into and onto the side, as I do with the mushrooms. On this particular model, I have a reptilian creature which is climbing up the side of the bowl. This idea came to me one sunny afternoon in Provence when I was sunbathing underneath a grape vine, and I suddenly had a feeling of a creature nearby, as one does, and I looked up and there was a lizard climbing up the side of the trellis work of the grapevine. Hence the inclusion of the reptile and the grapes.
Did you do a series of these pieces?
I've done many of these actually,
yes.
Different sizes and using different colours, slight variations.
Have you got another one that the viewer can see at the moment?
Well, I have this vase here, which is the same idea of a landscape, Provençal type landscape, with the grapes here and a variegated field of colours, flowers, and I like the idea of these mushrooms because they introduce kind of a mythical quality to them. And there's a reptile here. They're not a particular species, they're just
What sort of glazes have you used on this particular piece?
I'll start off with slips. I usually use a dark blue slip in this one. I do use light blue slips as well for the sky.
So that's a pigmented liquid clay, isn't it?
That's right, yes, that's painted on when the model is still in its green stage, so it's still dry now, it hasn't been bisquified at all.
I don't mean to give you any trade secrets.
No, of course, no.
Just,
but I also use...
is there a lustre on that?
Actually, there are slips, there are earthenware glazes, and there's a third firing, which is of course a lustre firing, which gives you this lovely quality of depth and richness to the piece. This piece is related to the bowl in the vase, in that it includes the mushrooms, the grapes, and the general sort of landscape aspect, but it is of course more of a free form in that it's hand built. And within the model you can sort of wander around little journeys. Up here, lovely effects of glaze there.
Yes, I noticed that some parts of the piece are unglazed. It gives quite an interesting effect, almost like a velvet effect at the top there.
Yes, it is. It's nice though. Yeah. As you can imagine, some effects happen quite accidentally.
And you take advantage of those effects.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You make notes of them, do you, for future work?
Well, I certainly make mental notes. Lovely colour there.
Yeah.
These are some mushroom castles mythological sort of ideas. You can imagine a fairy. Here we have some organic mushroom castles, which in fact are the actual habitats in which fairies and elves live, pixies, such like. I just love these little organic areas around here, high detail. You have the lustre glaze on them, on the stalks here, and the variegated effects of the mushroom caps are quite naturalistic, also quite abstract as well. If you look at the bottom of the piece, here we have the steps which lead up to the front door of the castle, and we have these little garden areas, pixie garden areas around. If we turn the piece around, you can see in the mushroom stalks little bedroom windows, which of course fascinate children because they can imagine elves or fairies or pixies, whatever, actually living there. And we, again, down around the bottom, we have these organic garden effects, flowers and plants, very high detail. This is a different, obviously a different colour effect with the mushrooms, different size, but again with the grand entrance which leads into the mushroom castle, around the side this time. Little garden effects, organic effects around the edge. One can imagine actually walking through a forest amongst the leaves and plants and mushrooms, and easily imagine sort of the habitat of fairies and pixies. This is why something like this appeals to children very much. Love to have them in their bedrooms by the side of the bed.
But do you think of making these for children's appreciation rather than adults? So most artists address their work to an adult clientele, don't they?
Well, one must respect the fact that within every adult, or most adults, there certainly is a child anyway.
Yes, that's true.
So adults do appreciate them. Adults find them adults. You know, people find them quite charming, and of course children do as well, and elderly people as well.
Yes. Yes, of course. Certainly very relaxing.
Yes, of course, yes, yeah.
In fact, that'd be nice to have in the bedroom after a stressful day. Your eyes wander over the colours and the shapes.
And it sparks off the imagination as well.
And of course you also make pieces inspired from the animal kingdom.
Yes, indeed.
Endangered species.
Yes, indeed. Something I feel quite passionate about. And this is a personal passion of mine, the way I feel about elephants. Goes back to a very small child when I was in London Zoo, and I had a bag of currant buns and gave one to an elephant. It looked down and winked at me and smiled. So hence, all of the elephants I make have a smile, I don't know if you can see it, but a wink as well.
Oh yes.
They have these large, crinkly ears, which are quite stylised. They're not actually absolutely naturalistic. He's sitting, if I can turn it around the other way, he's sitting in fact with his leg tucked behind his front leg. This is his knee here, which in turn comes through in the centre here.
This is quite complicated. Do you work from photographs or?
Well,
or
initially, one did initially, yes, with the first prototype. But
or do you make the animal as if in a sort of a natural sort of standing up position with its forelegs and then manipulate the legs?
I do all sorts. I have made those in standing up position with forelegs, yes. This one is, as I say, sitting down, but it's quite interesting from behind as well.
Yes, this is one of the things that fascinate me. These are very three-dimensional objects in that they are interesting from different positions.
Strong backbone, and down here, the tail at the bottom. Different size elephant, medium size range. As you can see, it's standing on all fours. Again, we have the crinkly ear.
You can see the effect of the ears there.
Yes, gives it lots of character.
Could we have a look at the other side as well?
Yes, sure.
Off there as if it's about to move forward as well. He's straining forward to get that water out the trunk,
that's
isn't
the
he?
posture, yes. Yeah. Now here we have a very majestic creature, a grand old elephant. This is a different glaze effect. It's more of a naturalistic colour, slightly bluey grey colour. It's less lustered. Again, you have the leg coming through here, foot rather. Very crinkly skin effects around here. If I move them around even more, this nice leg coming up here and the roughness of the knee. Lovely crinkly ears, strong spine, these lovely skin effects, which are quite varied actually, from bluey green up here and these browny colours, which one presumes could be mud that's on the elephant's skin.
Yes, it's got a sort of an abstract quality. It's almost like a bronze, isn't it? These colours with these effects.
And it's very tactile. You want to touch it, you want to stroke it.
If you had the choice, would you prefer to work in bronze or?
No, I like the organic feel of clay. It's very pliable. If you're working with a metal, it's less variation of, less flexibility of what you can do with it. It's so rigid.
What about you got the scale though? You could work on a much larger scale, couldn't you, if you were working in bronze?
Well, yes, of course. To tell the truth, I've never actually worked in metal at all.
No. It's very expensive, isn't it?
So on here we've got these lovely creased effects, which go into the armpits and the abdomen of the elephant. a super one, that.
You're very proud of this particular piece.
Yes, yes. I'm very proud of most of them, but some of them...
Of course, the thing is about artists is that they do sell their work as well, and
Yes.
you don't often have the opportunity to provide a good record of work that you've made in the past. I mean, I know that artists have used photographs for many years to record their work. It's very difficult to record three-dimensional work with photography. It's only the advent of video that's made it feasible to record work, three-dimensional work.
See, very often I don't have the time from making and finishing the piece. Very often I unload it from the kiln into the car and I'm away onto a craft market or to deliver an order to a shop. The painting here is in early morning in the tea garden in Tokyo, which I discovered when going for a jog from the hotel that I was staying in. I was on a Buddhist pilgrimage there, and I was really knocked out by the fact that I quickly ran back and got my camera, took a photograph of it, and I painted the picture on my return over several weeks. And hence, from the painting, came this three-dimensional version of the painting in ceramic, which is a container in itself. I've got some dried plants in it at the moment. As you can see, the trees here, and instead of painting in leaves, I have these amazing textural effects which are very, very interesting, very variegated across the surface. In some areas you see where the glaze has accumulated. It's very pleasing. And we have the water coming through here and trickling down to the pool at the bottom here. And the flowers leading up to the tree here, leaves on the edge. Quite original, quite unique.
And three-dimensional.
And it's three-dimensional,
If you
yes.
turn it round, I know it's rather heavy.
Yes, yes, of course. Now, as a three-quarters view, I don't know how it looks to show that the sides also are depicting an image, which, as you see as I turn around, it turns into something quite different. Which is a pool of water here, and the erosion caused by the pool of water formed these sculptural shapes of the rock. And again here we have the textural shapes, which would be stones, or you can imagine it as coral. Looking up into the rock surface here. And this is actually the rock face itself. This image, in fact, came originally from under a bridge in Wales, in the Elaine Valley, I believe it was. And this leads round to this side of the container. We have a hole here in which one can project flower heads through, dried flower heads. And that leads round again to the frontal side of the tea garden.
Yes, it's like a combination of experiences in England and your experiences in Japan.
Yes, indeed, yeah. With a painting, I like to explore or to express a mixture of vitality of surface through colour and movement. I like to move the eye around. And with this piece, I've done the same, only with texture.
There are very few artists working in this field.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is my own totally original piece. It's my own idea. The influence hasn't come from anybody else, apart from, of course, the Japanese chap who designed the tea garden. I've got to give him some credit, haven't I?
Do you think it needs the dried flowers in the top, or?
Well, of course not. No, it doesn't need anything if you want to just keep it as a sculptural piece. But it does have a function. I like to, if I'm doing even a sculpture, I like to.
You like to have this
I'd like to have
duality.
the double idea, or the double function of it not just being an objet d'art, but in fact being a functional objet d'art.
Very rich.
Here again we have what was originally two-dimensional imagery expressed in three-dimensional form in the ceramic sculpture. The water is quite flat and lustered. In the foreground we have these mushrooms and these beautiful textural areas.
So you've got the contrast of the smoothness of the water against the various textured areas.
That's right, yes.
And of course you're using colour as well.
Yes.
Do you have difficulty with handling colour and ceramic, because it changes, doesn't it? I mean, it's not like
well, yes, it's not like paint.
painting
It's
where
not
you
so.
can see exactly the
Mm.
tone you're going to get. I suppose you just become so used to using the materials that you know that a certain colour will change after firing. Yes, and of course this is a three-dimensional piece. At the moment we're only looking at one side. It's just like a four-sided wedge-like shape.
I always think of it as a monolithic sort of shape.
Yes, it has got a certain relationship to a pyramid, isn't it?
I love this side. The colours are beautiful. Sort of a beachy coral effect down here. It's lustered water.
Yes, this is more relaxed, isn't it? You seem to have got this notion of two sides. One side is quite active, the other side is more reflective.
And the water from the front side leads round into the...
Yes, it's got deepness
into
there.
the
It
back
almost
side.
looks like mountains in that area there.
Yeah.
Almost like the mountains of China here. Be closing on that area there. And the glistening effect of the ceramic acts like white in the painting, doesn't it?
Yes, it's sort of the chalky rock.
And that area there almost looks like trees, Chinese trees. So, certain effects. This green, matte green, is rather unusual, isn't it, down here?
I love this. This has come through very well.
Yes. But that area there, like a deep pool. Yes.
And again, this leads round to the other side. Which is quite beautiful as well.
The camera there. It's a large piece.
And this, like the previous piece, is functional in that you can put plants into it.
What sort of plants do you think will go into it?
Well, it is waterproof, so you put water into it and put so-called live flowers into it, or you can put dried flowers.
Yes. But doesn't it spoil the effect of the landscape?
It depends. You could put some very tall, branchy flowers, plants into it. It just has a dual purpose, not just as an objet d'art, which one can enjoy in its own right. But right, these two elephants originally are in fact thrown on the wheel and onto the throwing piece. After distorting it into the shape I want, I coil and model the elephant's head, ears, tusk and trunk onto that. It's got some very nice, interesting effects around here. And of course there is the humorous aspect of the fact that the elephants are humanoid elephants in dressing gowns.
So we're looking at the back now of this one here.
We're looking at the back, yes, the side, the back. You have the crinkly ears again, and the layers of fatty areas of the elephant. Same as here. Good fun, good fun.
But then although you obviously thoroughly enjoy making these pieces, you are very keen to do an extensive project, aren't you, related to the ceramics that you've shown me earlier on? That's almost like a painting.
I have two passions that I want to research into or extend as far as I can. One is the aspect of elephants and other animals, in other words, endangered species, which I feel very passionate about. I would like to, in my own way, contribute towards helping to save creatures like the elephant, the rhinoceros, the whale, the dolphin, even apes. I haven't made any apes yet, but I intend to make some gorillas. It's the only way I feel that I can contribute towards saving them. And as far as the landscape sculptural pots are concerned, I'd like to extend those as far as I can into experimenting with more amorphous shapes.
Could we have a look at that one that we saw earlier on?
Yes.
Lift that piece up again.
Yes. Well, for example,
Mention some of the
let's just move
ways.
these two away. For example, it is quite a positive shape in that it's quite straight along here and has definite corners. There is no end of variation on that theme, i.e. I could bring out areas, take areas back, bring out another area, scoop in areas and bring out trees, make them more adventurous.
Now this is all time-consuming work, isn't it?
Well, of course it's time-consuming work, and the hindrance, or what's in fact inhibiting my progression, is the fact that I have to live, I have to make a living as far as I can, and one cannot indulge in something which is so time-intensive when one is pressurised and under stress in order just to live, the practical side of life. But I can really see the potential in these. They are unique, and again, as I say, in my own small way, I can contribute towards conservation of the natural world by making pieces which can relate passionately to a feeling and emotion in someone as to how they feel as well about the natural world, the habitats, environmental aspects, environmental policies and politics.
Right, thank you very much, Robbie Edwards. That was very interesting.
Thank you
And we
very
hope
much.
to see some very exciting work in the future.
Well, I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so.